Hi folks, it's me, it's Christy. So this is video 3 for learning target 5 for health. If you haven't seen the first 2 videos, please exit out of this one and watch the first 2. So at the end of the second video, I was going over the primary difference between gender identity and gender expression. So if I was going to give you a test on this unit, anything that involves how the person sees or identifies themselves, it would most likely be gender identity. If you're talking about like outward, like how people see you or what category or what box they put you in, like how the world sees you, that's expression. So again, identity is the internal perception of yourself. Expression, I don't think I've read yet, so I'm going to go over that. So it's the external display of one's gender through a combination of clothing, grooming, social behavior, and other factors generally made sense of on scales of masculinity and femininity. So things like what you wear, how you dress, how you present yourself, simply the way, there's even really small things that I could talk about, like the way you sit. A lot of women, they sit with their legs closed, right? Because they're used to wearing dresses, or not all women, like me, for instance, right? But a lot of women are used to wearing dresses, so they sit very, if you ever look in a room about how, like, look at the men and how they sit in a seat, any seat versus a woman, it's very interesting. I myself have always thought about these types of things, even at a very young age, because I have always been different. I have some really feminine aspects of my personality, and some really masculine, and I always thought the differences between the sexes were really interesting because I fall somewhere in the middle. Anyway, so external external is gender expression, right? Even small things like the way you sit. Then we have sexual orientation. I throw this word around often, and kids are always like, what? What is that word? I don't know that word. I don't know what this means. And you actually do know what this means. You guys just call it different things. Sexual orientation is simply how you identify who you're attracted to, right? So if someone asks you your sexual orientation, you can say straight. That would be an acceptable answer, meaning you're attracted to the opposite sex. You could say, well, I'm gay. This means that you're attracted to the same sex, right? And then you could also say, I'm bi, right? That means you're attracted to both sexes equally. Maybe not equally. No. So sexual orientation is simply who you are attracted to, who you are fooling around with, who you're sleeping with. All of those answers. So it says, the type of sexual or romantic, emotional, even spiritual attraction one has, the capacity to feel for others, right? Other 2 words I think that are important to talk about in this unit, I'm actually going to add them to your notes, are homosexuality and heterosexuality. So the prefix is the beginning of the word, homo. This means the same. Homo means the same, right? So I'm actually going to say that homo, the prefix homo, means the same. So a homosexual is someone who has sex with the same sex, right? So here's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say homo means the same, big letters, right? So a homosexual is someone who has sex with someone of the same sex. So this is a woman who has sex with other women, or a man who has sex with other men. Heterosexuality. So the word hetero, no, I'm sorry, it's not a word, it's a prefix. It's a prefix. That prefix, it means different. Hetero means different. So a heterosexual is someone who has sex with someone of a, or of the different, no, let's go with a different sex. So again, this would be a man who has sex with women, or a woman who has sex with men. I think these two words are important because if you ever have to take some sort of survey or something, it doesn't happen very often in your life, but I feel like it has happened to me 3 or 4 times, where you have to check off your sexual orientation. It will say, do you identify as homosexual or heterosexual? You want to know which is which, right? You want to know which box to check. Okay, cool. So sexual orientation is all about who you are attracted to, or who you're having sex with. Okay, that covers my vocabulary for this unit. So here's the deal. Let me read to you the deal. Before I read you the deal, I'm just gonna add some things here. So to pass the learning target or get the sticker for this unit, there's a couple things. Okay. So you're gonna have 2 sets of different questions for me. You're gonna have a set of questions that is called vocabulary reflection questions. Okay, that's what I'm going to call it. I'm actually going to hold this and underline this and actually make it blue. So it says, read the vocabulary reflection questions underneath the definitions and answer the questions by using the definitions and Christy's video. I want to be very clear here, guys. The answers to my questions, most of them are not gonna be like what you think, like what you feel. Like a lot of the stuff we've been doing this quarter has been like, tell me what you think about this. The answers to the vocabulary reflection questions are gonna have right and wrong answers. And if you're trying to get them all right, which I hope you're doing, it comes down to understanding the definitions and what I've said in my videos. So that means if you don't know an answer, either look at the definition again or watch my video where I talk about the definition. Okay? So for instance, if it's a term that I covered in video, the only term I covered in video 1 is biological sex, right? In video 2, I talked about intersex, two-spirit, gender, transgender, gender identity, and gender expression. That was a big video, right? Lots of important information in that video. If you're going to watch a video twice, it would be video 2. Then the last video, I talked about sexual orientation, right? And that's this video. So, here's my advice to you all, okay? I want you to use my videos and the definitions to help you with the vocabulary reflection questions. Because like I said, there will be yes or no answers. You will find these questions right directly underneath all of the vocabulary words. It'll say in big letters, vocabulary reflection questions. When you are done with those questions, then you're going to watch a movie. The movie, and it is actually a movie. I know sometimes I say movie and then you guys get really excited and it's really a documentary and you're like, oh, that's not a movie. What is this? She lied. This is actually a movie. It's got some famous actors in it. I watched it last night and I really enjoyed it. I'm hoping that you enjoy it as well. I actually do think it's one of those movies that it's not a really like, it doesn't make you think of school. You know, there's like school movies where you're like, oh god. It's not one of those. It goes by pretty quick, and you know, I think you'll like it. So you're gonna watch the movie, but I have some directions for you before you start the film. Okay, here are my directions. So it says watch the film 3 Generations that can be found on Netflix. You just got to put in 3 Generations. As you watch the film, I want you to pause at certain time points. Alright, it says, I want you to pause at 2 minutes, so this is 2 minutes after the start of the movie, 5 minutes, 5 minutes after the start of the movie, 15 minutes, 15 minutes after the start of the movie, and 30 minutes, okay? I want you to stop all of those time points and work on some questions. Here's the deal. A lot of you guys don't watch these videos and you don't really listen to my directions. What I have a feeling will happen here is you're going to watch the whole movie. You're going to miss 2 or 3 major parts in the very beginning, or you're not going to remember them. And then you're going to be really grumpy because you're going to have to like scroll back through the video to find where they gave you the answer. And it's just going to make you not happy. It's going to make you really grumpy. I can see it now. I can see multiple students being like, oh, when did they say this? Oh, was it minute? Oh, was it 2? Was it 6? Wait, was it 10? Oh, God, was it an hour? Where am I? And then you're going to get really upset. So don't do that. I don't want you to do that. No. So the way we're going to avoid that is stop where I tell you to stop, right? Stop, pause, read the question. See if they just went over the answer. Then it's right in your brain. You just watched it, so you wouldn't have forgotten it. Okay? Okay, is there anything else? Oh yeah, so then you have movie questions, right? So you have 2 sets of questions for me, folks. You're going to have the vocabulary reflection questions. Underneath those questions, you're going to have the movie. I'll probably call them 3 Generations film questions. Okay? So what I want you to do for these questions is what I've been having you do almost every assignment. I'm going to go over the directions really quick here. So what I want you to do, these aren't all of the questions, by the way. These are only some. So you're going to start with where it says vocabulary reflection questions. That's where you're going to start. And you're going to highlight every single thing after that. Right? So your job is to find where it says vocabulary reflection questions and highlight everything following that. You're going to highlight it. Let's just pretend that I only had to highlight these 8, but you have to highlight everything. You're going to highlight, you're going to Control C. That means copy. You're going to go to your Google Docs. You're going to hit New Google Doc. New Google Doc. You're going to hit the word Google Doc again because you don't want Google Slides or Google Sheets. You want a Google Doc. You're going to hit Control V for paste. You're going to title it Learning Target 5 and your name. I'm just going to go with E for Isha. And then you're going to hit Enter. You're going to share this with me at my email address. Okay? My email is right there. Bam. And then once you do that,